While there are a few exceptions, most celebrities nowadays have social media accounts. This of course is a recent phenomenon, because for centuries there was no such platform at the disposal of notable figures. But let's imagine for a moment that historical figures did live in an age of social media. How would they behave, and what kind of social media user would they be? More to the point perhaps, what kind of content would they share? In this video we give the hypothetical answers to these questions. Galileo Galilei, the father of observational astronomy, would probably share pictures of NASA on Instagram, with detailed captions explaining each, and of course, hinting that he'd seen it all before. Jesus Christ, Jesus would talk about his dad a lot, though he'd probably also post #TBT pictures of his mom so his followers could see how cute he was as a baby. Martin Luther would probably spend his days sparking religious debates on Facebook and challenging religious leaders on Twitter. Pope Francis would likely be mentioned a lot by Luther. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart would be all about music and poop jokes. He was really into toilet humor, so he'd probably take to social media to share pics, videos, and scatological jokes. Henry VIII would probably be targeted by both feminists and Catholics, but he'd still post pictures of himself with his ladies on a boat somewhere while sipping champagne. He'd also try to get followers to join his new church. Mother Teresa would just have a Facebook account and invite people to like charity pages and share crowdfunding links, likely in order to save someone's life. Harry Houdini would be the king of prank videos. He'd have millions of followers on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Mansa Musa would just flex his wealth on Instagram and TikTok. With an estimated net worth of 400 billion United States dollars in today's money, followers could expect the most extravagant posts on social media by the world's richest man ever. Marie Antoinette would be the textbook upper-class pro-monarchy influencer. Her TikTok and Instagram stories would range from lavish parties to makeup tutorials and fashion advice. Nostradamus would be the king of conspiracy theories, always predicting future events. His YouTube channel would be a huge hit and he'd probably have millions of followers. Thomas Edison would be the thriving entrepreneur who'd be constantly bragging about his new discoveries and how many patents he'd registered. Marilyn Monroe, the blonde bombshell, would be a successful beauty influencer. Her makeup tips videos would garner millions of views. Socrates would be debating everyone and winning. He'd be annoyingly good at arguing with other people online and be equally loved and hated by many. He'd also get Plato to share all his posts. Beethoven, the German composer and pianist, would be a SoundCloud nightmare, constantly sharing links to his music and using hashtags such as #composer, #song of the day, #new music, and #def. Charles Dickens would become very active around the holidays, and then disappear for the rest of the year. He'd try to fundraise for orphan causes, too. Adam and Eve would constantly post apology videos. They'd have a podcast and be often targeted by haters #sin. Karl Marx would have a lot of support from the left and a pile of hate from the right. He'd be pushing the Communist Manifesto all over Twitter and Facebook, and getting tons of engagement in his posts. Leonardo da Vinci. Can you imagine Da Vinci constantly posting pictures and challenging his followers to discover the secrets behind them? #mystery #the Da Vinci Code. William Shakespeare, the English playwright, would post brilliant poems, but most people wouldn't understand what they meant. He'd also probably be promoting ticket sales for his plays all the time. Charles Darwin. Can you imagine how many cool photos and videos Darwin would share from his expeditions? Plus, he'd probably spark a lot of interesting debates with creationists on Twitter. Muhammad Ali. With the rise of popularity in combat sports, Muhammad Ali would certainly find a loyal audience on social media. Workout videos, boxing tutorials, activism, and motivational speeches, all would delight his fans. Oscar Wilde would share the latest celebrity gossip, but in a poetic manner. Wilde would be an advocate for LGBTQ+ rights and have millions of followers who'd share his content. Marie Curie's posts would mostly talk about radioactivity. She'd also prompt a chemical warfare debate. Marie Curie and her husband, Pierre, would also join forces to highlight post-cancer awareness information. Agatha Christie, the writer, would be all about mysterious tweets. Her followers would read them, but she wouldn't have a lot of engagement, as people wouldn't have time to solve riddles while scrolling on their phones. Alexander the Great would just brag about how well traveled he was and post selfies from Macedonia to India, and everywhere in between. #travel #explore. René Descartes, the French philosopher, would likely post pretentious philosophical quotes accompanied by cheesy photos of flowers and sunsets. The man behind the famous quote, "I think, therefore I am," would surely puzzle many of his followers. Confucius would post just the weirdest of quotes, but people would share them because they'd sound very deep and insightful. Benjamin Franklin did it all. He was an overachiever and in today's age of social media, would probably be an obnoxious self-help influencer with millions of followers. Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol would be annoyingly cool. His posts would range from his art to pictures and videos of him hanging out with A-listers in exclusive clubs. Jane Goodall. The English primatologist and anthropologist would be a TikTok sensation with her funny chimp videos. Goodall would also have a YouTube channel where she'd share more insightful content. Tupac Shakur. The late rapper had a unique, lively personality. He'd surely be a controversial, yet extremely popular figure on social media. Thank you for watching. Who would become the most successful influencer? Please comment below. Please do like us and subscribe for more information.